Konnichiwa! I'm Amber Moore. Today I'm making an oriental dish that I'm calling Phil-Asian. Now, you've probably heard of Pan-Asian, but I invented this new word, Phil-Asian. And that's because I'm going to be using oriental vegetables, tofu, and I'm making a special Philadelphia cream cheese sauce that in Japanese we would say oishii, which means very delicious. So oishii. The first thing you need to do is prepare all the vegetables because that's really the time-consuming part of this whole dish, because once they're prepared and you get them in the wok, it's really fast to come together. I'm using some oriental vegetables here. Obviously carrots are grown here as well, but mostly oriental. And for the carrots, they really need to be julienne, so cut up nice and thin. And I've done about 5 carrots. Depending on the size of them, you're going to use about 5 or 6. So this is a good full 2 cups here. And finish that one off later. I just want to show you how I've done the scallions. I'm cutting them on a diagonal so they just look pretty in the dish. The next one I'm just going to show you is I'm using some shiitake mushrooms, or if you were saying it Japanese, it'd be shiitake. And I'm going to cut off the very end. And I've already washed these. You can get them dried as well, but you have to soak them. So these ones are fresh, and you don't have to soak these. Then I'm just cutting them very thin. The last vegetable that I'm cutting up is some cabbage. This one is actually a Napa cabbage, so you can tell the difference between regular green and red cabbages, and to compare it to this Napa one. So I'm just going to cut them again in small strips. I actually find, I know it's a lot of prep work and everything, but I find it very therapeutic to get in here and kind of get going with all the cutting and relax with that, and then you get in with the pan, it gets like fast and spicy, and I mean fast and quick and everything like that. And this is edamame, and it's a soybean, and this one was just frozen, and I just drained it, rinsed it off so it's not frozen anymore, and it's a cup of it that's just gonna go right in. That's the easiest one, you don't have to cut it or anything. Lastly, I have tofu that I drained it from the packaging, and then I've put it on a paper towel just so it can soak up any extra moisture. And I'm just gonna cut this one up so it can be little cubes. So I'm gonna cut it in half this way, and then continue to the last of that tofu. It's tofu, but it actually kind of looks like some Philadelphia cream cheese. Our vegetables are all prepped, and we have this tofu to give us some nice protein in this dish, and it's just gonna go right in the wok, cook up really fast, and get that cream cheese sauce right over it. Now I'm going to get the cream cheese sauce going, and I have this cream cheese at room temperature so it can be nice and soft and incorporate all those oriental flavors that we're gonna put in there. I'm going to be using soy sauce and mirin. And mirin is actually a sake, but it's sweetened sake, and you use that in the cooking. It's really, really delicious. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. This is regular soy sauce, and 2 tablespoons of mirin. What's also great about these oriental flavors that I'm using is that you actually can just get them right in a regular grocery store. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. The reason why I'm doing something oriental today is, what you may not be able to tell is I'm part Japanese. I know, usually when I tell people that, they say the blue eyes and the freckles give it away, but that's definitely something that I love about me and my family, and we do have some traditions that we do, and I always tell everyone in my family, I'm like, I'm going to be the one that carries those traditions on, especially in the cooking department. And lastly, a teaspoon of the ginger. Now, I went to my store and I normally would use ginger root just because I love cutting it up, and it was really great too is you can throw that in some boiling water and you can make tea. And it's so good for you, and it really adds a nice little kick to it. But they didn't have any ginger root today, so I'm using minced, but that's how interchangeable you can do with these ingredients and easily find them. And we turn our wok on at high, and then a little later we'll turn it down to about medium high, but we're gonna get it nice and hot. I have 2 teaspoons of regular canola oil. When you use a wok, you don't need to use as much oil, so if you have a different pan that you're using, you may need to add a little bit more. Getting the last of the shiitake mushrooms in here. Cook those down, and these have such a nice flavor in them. It's different from using regular white button mushrooms, and that's definitely going to add some of that oriental flair to this. Next is our napa cabbage. Get those beautiful green scallions going in there. You just want to keep those edamames to get them heated through, so it gives a nice little pop of a crunch when you bite into that with all the vegetables in there. Putting the tofu in here now. And I also mixed up a teaspoon of that ginger, a teaspoon of soy sauce, and a teaspoon of that mirin right in here. I'm going to put that over the tofu and the vegetables. One thing that's great about the tofu, you can hear it sizzling, is that it soaks up every flavor that you put it in. So I know it's going to just take on that tangy cream cheese. Just adding a touch of salt to this really brings out all that flavor. Perfect. So I'm going to add in that yummy cream cheese sauce. Or again, the oishi cream cheese sauce. Alrighty, and you want to pour it over this while it's hot, so again that tofu will soak up all the flavors. I actually did get to go to Japan, but I was like 4 years old, so I don't remember that much, and I'd love to go back. And I have relatives there, which thankfully they were safe from all of this devastation and everything. But bringing it back to happy memories, when I was little, I went there and I was quite a ham, I have to tell you. I, once again, was not having an issue at all with the fact that we weren't speaking the same language. Before you serve it, you want to drizzle just a little more soy sauce on this. About 2 teaspoons. Give it another stir. We're going to start putting them into our lettuce leaves. These are Boston or Bibb. They have several different names, but it's a very buttery type lettuce, and it's actually one of my favorite types of lettuce because it just has that really soft texture, and it's great for when you want to wrap something up. So you have those washed and ready, and I'm going to spoon this in. And oh, I thought of the song from earlier that I did karaoke in Japan with, and it's that song, if you remember it. It starts off, I'm bringing home a baby bumblebee. Won't my mommy be so proud of me? I'm bringing home a baby bumblebee. Ouch! It stung me. So we're just going to wrap this up. You want to make sure they're really full. And go for it. This is a messy dish, but it's one that you won't regret getting messy for. And get all those bites in there. You taste the soy sauce and the mirin and the ginger and that cream cheese. It just takes this whole oriental flair to the next level. You have to try this, so go home and try it out. Sayonara!